Joining us now, Northern Virginia State Senator Chap Petersen. Senator Petersen, great to have you with us, man.
John, great to be on.
I want to get to a couple things internationally and nationally, and then we're going to go to the press release you put out yesterday that we just thought was amazing on the University of Virginia. But I want to get to this attack again last night in Nice. 84 people, Chap, dead. This guy in a truck, this radical Islamist, Muslim jihadist, whoever he was, part of the ISIS movement, we suspect hasn't been made totally official yet, but 84 people dead. Many more could have been dead because he had all sorts of ammo and guns in his truck, and both Clinton and Trump making, pretty good statements last night. But, I mean, look, you've been around politics a long time. What is going on out there?
Well, I mean, it's just, it's crazy. I don't know the details. I literally just, when I woke up this morning to watch the golf, I saw a clip on the news website.
Right.
It's devastating. I mean, it's not quite of the magnitude of the Paris attacks 6 months ago, but it's almost as if a state of war exists in Europe.
Yes.
With ISIS terrorists attacking innocent people. And I'm not quite sure how you retaliate for something like that. It seems like ISIS is losing in the battleground in the Middle East, and they're basically going underground and sort of going full-time to these terrorist attacks. But I remember in the 70s when we used to have terrorist attacks, and they used to be, frankly, small potatoes compared to this. So this is a whole other level. And, you just wonder at what point these people procure nuclear warheads or that type of technology to take this to even the next level. But, I mean, it's very worrisome, and I'm not discounting it. And obviously, for the next president, I think combating terrorism and getting to its causes and pulling it out by the roots, I mean, that's going to be their number one foreign policy issue.
No question. I mean, that dominated the news last night, and I was happy to see Hillary Clinton make a statement. Trump made a statement. Now, new polls just out. New York Times, Washington Post poll shows Trump ahead. The Rasmussen poll now shows Trump up by 6. The Times poll has him up by 3. You turn around from a couple weeks ago. Like I told you, this is going to be a very, very competitive race. I still think Trump is going to win, but there's got to be Democratic panic right now when they look at some of these numbers, right?
Well, I think there's only panic amongst people that had an unrealistic expectation, and I don't consider myself one of those people.
Right.
I've met Hillary Clinton before. She's a woman with great accomplishments, and but she's not also the type of person that's going to win an election by 20 points. Not that she wouldn't deserve to, but that's just she doesn't have kind of the magnitude, if you will, of some candidates that will go out there and just everybody loves them, and she's more of somebody that's going to put together a coalition. But the bottom line is that this is a very closely divided electorate, and anyone who thought that this is going to be like a double-digit victory for Hillary or anybody else, I mean, I personally think they're living in a dream world. I mean, that's just not how this country's cut out right now.
Right.
And the events of the past couple of weeks, if anything, have reinforced that. I mean, you're looking at a country that's very divided. You're looking at people with very strong opinions. And this is a country in which I think mass media marketing is almost irrelevant at this point, because the candidates are so well known and the people are so familiar with their positions or kind of where they stand or where they're perceived that TV commercials move the needle.
You're right.
At the end of the day, it's just going to be, who has momentum and where do the undecideds break. And if there are third and fourth parties, which I expect there will be, how do they impact the electorate? And I think, by the way, that's going to make a huge difference. You're going to have both a Libertarian and a Green Party candidate on the ballot, and
they're going to get votes.
They're going to get votes. I expect both of them actually to do quite well. I mean, not Ross Perot type numbers, but I think you could see both of them being in the high single digits and maybe even breaking 10%, and in a very close. Absolutely, that's going to play a role.
Okay, very quickly, because I've got to get to UVA. You're a lawyer. Did FBI Director James Comey do the right thing in not recommending indictment for Hillary?
Yes. I know I'm probably going to make some of your listeners unhappy, but one of the key points in criminal law is intent. And the question is, did Secretary Clinton intend to break the law? just based on what I can tell from the facts, I mean, the mistakes that were made were based on negligence or just simply carelessness, but there was never an intent to subvert the law. And, I just think you have to be very careful when you charge people with a crime, especially a felony, that there is a criminal intent. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it rose to that level. It's not to say there weren't mistakes made, but no, I think he made the right decision to not charge her.
Okay, we're going to leave it at that. I want to get to your press release yesterday, yourself and Republican Senator Bill Deese from Virginia Beach. You're calling for an investigation into disclosures that the University of Virginia has developed a $3 billion, yes, that's with a B, non-capital, strategic investment fund that is bigger than the Commonwealth's own rainy day fund. What's up?
Well, that's what we need to know. I mean, the fact that a public university is sitting on a $2.3 billion surplus, not an endowment fund, not money it's raised from private donors, but rather a surplus that apparently has been scraped off of operating funds over the past, X number of years, is just staggering. Because, every year in the legislature you hear, our universities don't have any money, they can't give pay raises, they have to raise tuition, and it's a drumbeat every year. And then to find out that one of our universities, our most, well-known university, is sitting on billions of what are essentially liquid cash accounts, at the same time it's raising tuition by, high single, double digits. I mean, it's astonishing. And, I think I've heard different explanations as to where the money came from, whether it's from program savings or from, some type of refinancing or from whether some of it is privately donated. I mean, who knows? But at the end of the day, again, if these were public monies, and when I say public monies, either monies that came from the state, either through Medicaid or from appropriations or from, ordinary citizens, and they're running a surplus like that, that to me is very troubling. This is a non-profit institution. The cost that they charge to the customer should not be greater than the service they provide. And don't get me wrong, but for them to just essentially families and then turn around and sit on a surplus so, Professor Doolittle can go invest it somewhere. $2.3 billion? I mean, it's kind of like $20 million. I would have been surprised, but $2.3 billion, I can't even intellectually handle that. And that's why myself and Senator Steph, we've been talking about this for the last few days, and I really think there needs to be an audit done so we understand where this money came from and how it was kept secret for so long.
Well, just share with our listeners quickly, like this only came into focus because of a whistleblower, right?
Yeah, I mean, if Helen Dragas hadn't mentioned this and said, on her, she was stepping down, that there was basically a FOIA issue that she raised, that they tried to keep this discussion secret. If she hadn't raised this a week ago, we still wouldn't know. I mean, we could have people lobbying us at the 2017 General Assembly saying UVA's broke and the students are going to have to pay higher tuitions and you need to increase your state spending. And we're very sympathetic to those arguments. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they're sitting on $2.3 billion.
In cash.
Again, it's in cash. Again, this is not the real estate holdings. This is not their endowment. This is cash money that's been pulled from their operating account. I don't know about you, John, but most folks I know are not sitting on $2.3 billion in cash, and if they are, they're not running around, asking to be treated like a pauper.
Well, liquidity, and the thing is, when you first look at this, you figure, okay, well, they're probably setting this aside for some major capital investment. They have to they have to build a new football stadium. This is for, just so everybody knows, it's called a strategic investment funds. So this is non-capital cash for what? Strategic investment to what?
It's not a capital fund that you need to build a new science building or build a new stadium or overhaul the campus. Exactly. This is a strategic investment fund so they can place investments in, I don't know, every single business in Albemarle County. I mean, what are they going to buy, the Washington Redskins? I mean, that's an enormous amount of money, and there's zero control over how that money's going to be spent. I mean, just think of the possibilities of fraud and corruption. I mean, it's really unbelievable. And the university has tried to pass this off as being no big deal. It is a big deal. And again, myself and Bill DeSteph, we've been talking about this, and I've asked the university for an explanation. And, I tip my hat to Helen Dragus. If she hadn't mentioned this, let's face it, it would still be getting swept under the rug.
I mean, it's really unbelievable when you look at this kind of money. And it came, so again, our audience knows, this came out of the operating fund budget. So they have an operating fund, and just to break it down, let's say the operating budget is $100 million, and they say, well, this is what we need, and they spend $90 million. Well, this is a public institution. Rather than take the $10 million and say, well, we don't need 100, we need 90, so we don't need to raise tuition, we don't need as much money from the state. We've had all these savings, good for us, pat us on the back. They've said, okay, now we need $110 million, and they take the surplus and put it in this fund until they get to $2.3 billion. Somebody finds out about it. It's unbelievable.
It is astonishing, and I said I'd be interested to trace back. I mean, that amount of money, I can only imagine it took many, many years to raise that amount of money. And again, I just don't know why the Board of Visitors wasn't apprised of this. I mean, to be blunt, either these people are completely asleep at the wheel, or they were being misled, or else they really are just a bunch of rubber stampers that just don't have opinions on this. So I don't know what the answer is, but we're going to find.
Holliff involved in this too. And one of the things that bothers people, and I know we're almost out of time, one of the things that bothers people is that these meetings were done under the guise of personnel meetings, so they couldn't be FOIA'd, which is, that right there, that's a red flag. That they were trying to hide what they were doing, not good for a public institution of their caliber. We're out of time. I want to thank Chap Petersen for being with us.
Great stuff.
And you can follow Chap Petersen on his website. He's a Democratic senator from Fairfax on our show all the time. Chap, thanks for being with us.